1.
I won't let you hurt Lugia, he shouted. Oh, I'm not just going to hurt him. I gasped as a sizzling sensation coursed through me. I watched Nikiro, still holding me in his deathlock, and I knew he was the one who'd done it. I won't let you, he shouted again. And here I thought you were never going to leave that room. This isn't funny. Nikiro, you're getting hysterical. No! He suddenly threw away from me. That's not it, he said quieter. You have no idea what you're doing, and I can't let you do it. It's my responsibility to— Don't give me that. You're just scared. If I was scared, would I be trying to stop you? With that, he tossed a powerful psychic attack at me. It hit straight on and knocked me backwards. I moved down and let the rest of it pass over me. He gave a yell and fired another one. This time, I flew up and it missed completely. I thought that all you Mews would stay on my side. I can't, he said. Not anymore. Behind him, I could see that the battle between the other birds was still going strong. Then I saw a shadow loom over him. Lugia. Nikiro, he said. Nikiro gasped and looked up. Lugia. Stop it, Nikiro, Lugia said. This is between Ashura and me. But— Lugia shook his head. Leave us be. Nikiro spun around and faced Lugia angrily. I can't, he yelled. I can't just stand back and watch you fight. You can't fight him, Lugia. I can't bear to watch you lose. I won't lose, Lugia reciprocated. Have some faith, Nikiro. Lugia, he killed a Ho-Oh. He'll kill you, too. Can we get on with this? I asked. Lugia started to reply, but Nikiro cut in. You'll fight me, he said. Then if I lose, Lugia will kill you. Nikiro, Lugia said in shock. And if I win, Nikiro continued, then you will stop this madness and reconcile everything that you've already ruined. They stayed quiet as I thought it over. Let me get this straight, I said. You don't want to kill me? He shook his head. No, of course not. I just want you back to normal. I sighed. That's not going to happen. But if you really want to try, I'm not going to argue. Then let's begin. Nikiro, are you sure you want to? Lugia began. Yes, I'm sure, he said calmly. Ready, Ash? Yes. We both started at the same time with Psychic. They canceled each other out, enough for each of us to remain untouched. We both shot upwards. Nikiro came towards me, still blazing. I prepared for him with a small ball of darkness, but he moved too fast and destroyed it before I was ready. He jumped over me and kicked back at me with both feet, knocking me forwards. The next thing I knew, his tail flashed before my eyes and found a hole beneath my chin. He grabbed it and pulled me close to him. It'll only hurt for a little while, he whispered. He was warm to the touch, but as his tail pressed harder against my throat, I couldn't help but feel cold. Even if he wasn't going to kill me, I couldn't black out, because that would count as a loss. I tugged at the thin appendage that was threatening to ruin everything for me, but I couldn't gather enough strength to wrench it off by force, and I found myself getting weaker by the minute. Only one other option. If I'm going down, I'm taking you with me! I kicked against the air and flew backwards with Nikiro. That put him off just enough for me to shock him with a small amount of darkness. Then I grabbed his tail with renewed strength and threw him away from me. I rubbed my bruised neck. He was going to pay for that. He recovered from the toss quickly and spun to face me again, then fired a psychic attack. I teleported to dodge and placed myself right in front of Nikiro. He cried out and backed up. Battles aren't won by those who use the flashiest moves, or even the most powerful attacks. Sometimes it just takes flat-out will and aggression. Huh? I floated towards him until we were face to face. Then I gave him my best Mega Punch. He didn't get pushed very far back, but it certainly surprised him. He clapped his paws over his nose and stared at me wide-eyed. What? Here's more! I gave him another Mega Punch and quickly followed up with a Mega Kick to the chin. I followed that up with a Slam attack. I guess he got tired of that pretty fast, because he blasted everything near him with a Psychic. I was thrown back and decided to wait until the fireworks were over before continuing. After it cleared, he looked even madder than before. He had formed a single gold-colored ball and grew it till it was bigger than he was. Hyper Beam, huh? He fired, and I hardly had the chance to dodge. It still nicked my whole tail and knocked me off balance, and I fell. Nikiro floated downwards, waiting for another opportunity to attack. He waited too long. I flew back up and began using Comet Punch. He didn't even get a chance to blink. I felt Lugia watching from a distance with growing horror. This is for your own good, Mikiro. I ended the battle with a karate chop to the back of his head. He finally gave out and fell without any effort to save himself. Once I was positive that he was unconscious, I dove down and grabbed him under the arms and held him in midair. I immediately wished that my hands were free so that I could cover my ears. Lugia was barreling towards me, full of rage, and being very vocal about it too. "What have you done?" he shouted. "Get a grip," I answered. "He's not dead." "What?" The Great Guardian didn't even bother to check if he's alive or not, I muttered to myself. "What was that?" I let myself focus on the limp Mew I held and sent him back to his room in the tower. If Lugia could control the waters, the sea must have been boiling at that point. How could you? For one of the greatest legendary Pokemon in the world, you can't control your temper very well, can you? Lugia took several deep breaths and tried to regain his composure. "I will kill you," he told me. I shrugged. "Give it a try, but don't think I won't do the same to you." I slammed into his neck head first. He responded by flipping in midair and giving me a full-out body slam. Then he backed up a bit and shot at me with a hydro pump. I countered it with my shield, and it dripped off harmlessly. I could see the frustration in his eyes, and I knew this battle would have as much to do with mind games as it would with fighting. He powered up a whirlpool and drove it towards me. I flew up just a little, then dove straight through the water column. I think I passed right by Lugia's head and threw it off enough to ruin the attack. He tried to hit me again with an aeroblast, and it worked. It left me dazed enough for him to get another body slam in. I was finally forced to counterattack with a dark blast just to drive him off. He shot a hyper beam at me that I barely dodged, but still was seared by the intensity of just being close by. When it had passed by, I noticed that there was a large smoking black crater in one of the streets where there hadn't been one before. "Lugia, I'm sure you'll agree with me on this. Let's go somewhere where there's no chance of hurting any passerby." Lugia looked down at the crater it had formed in the city surrounding it. "Yes, I suppose you're right," he admitted. I pointed right outside the city wall to a large tree-covered hill. "Will that work?" I asked. He looked over there and nodded slowly. "I guess it will do." I sped over there and landed in a semi-clear area. After a while, Lugia landed behind me. "He's getting tired," I noted, "but he's not the only one. We're going to have to end this here and now." Flashback. "Okay, so you've shown me Psychic and you've shown me Confusion. I mean, I can't see the difference between them, but why do you always have to make it such a big deal?" It took a while for Mewtwo to answer. When he did, he spoke very quietly. "Because, Ash, there are really two kinds of Psychics. One you just use to do damage. The other one is used for inflicting pain. And more." "More? If you want, I can show you firsthand." He finally looked at me. "It will hurt," he said. "But I'll be okay, right?" He nodded. "But it will still hurt." I shrugged as offhandedly as I could. "I don't mind. Just go easy on me." He even gulped nervously. "I'll try." He turned and faced me. "Hold still." "Okay," I said, and readied myself for the worst. "I'll start off with a confusion attack, just to fully illustrate my point." His eyes glowed blue, and a cold blueness surrounded me. It tightened around me, and before I knew it, everything blurred past me, and I smashed flat into the rock behind me. The coldness subsided, and I slid to the ground. "Ow!" I said, an understatement. "Stand up," Mewtwo said. I hauled myself up, and stood as firmly as I could, which wasn't much. "Are you ready for Psychic?" he asked. As ready as I'll ever be, I guess." "All right. This is the quick one. This is the one you would most likely use in battle when your main goal is to simply weaken your opponent." I nodded. Mewtwo assumed a fighting stance, and between his hands, a huge white-blue ball of pure, powerful energy grew and glowed brighter and brighter, making everything around it a contrast between blinding light and pitch dark. "Shield yourself," Mewtwo said quickly, and fired it straight at me. In the split second that I was given, I raised a small shield, and the next I was surrounded by a rush of roaring, furious whiteness. My shield didn't even seem to exist from the intensity that I felt from it. A second later, I was blown back into the wall again, and the psychic attack had disappeared. Mewtwo stood motionless except for his tail, which twitched slightly at the tip. "Get up, Ash," he said. You must be prepared for this next one. It will hurt." I laughed nervously and got up very slowly. "Are you ready?" "Probably not, but go ahead anyway." Mewtwo waited for a moment. "Very well, then." He took a deep breath, and his eyes became a deep blue. I felt that coldness again, but this time it seeped inside of me gradually. Then it lurched and grabbed me from the inside. I'd never felt pain like that before. It was a freezing and burning and choking torture. It felt like my lungs had collapsed, and my heart was about to explode. I could feel myself screaming, but I knew that no sound was coming out at all. I was blinded by pain, and felt relief when a cool blackness swallowed up the pain, and I finally lost consciousness. End flashback. Lugia, I'll try to make this as painless as possible. I heard a roar from far to my right, and glanced over to see two beasts of fire crash into the same hill that we were on. I have to hurry. They need me over there. I formed a small blade of darkness in my paws, and just looked at it for a second. Then I spun it around and launched it at Lugia. It hit and spread immediately throughout his body. He gasped, and I saw him stretch to his full extent instinctively. I directed a powerful but small amount of darkness to his chest area, where I sought out his heart. Once there, I used the blade to sever his aorta and render it completely useless. I retracted my attack and stood back. He stood in the same position, shaking viciously. I heard him take one last breath before his eyes rolled back into his head, and he fell forward slowly, his body connecting with the ground with a soft thud, and his head finally came to rest. His eyes closed slowly, and he lay still. Goodbye, Lugia. I left swiftly and flew straight up. Charizard and Moltres were still battling furiously, but I could tell that Charizard wasn't doing very well. I also noticed that more than a few trees had been lit on fire, and it was spreading quickly. I can't let that reach the city, and I can't let Moltres win. I checked the battle at the tower, and saw that things weren't very pretty there either. I'm going to have to move fast. I reached out to the ocean a few miles away. With Lugia gone, it was masterless, and I could easily take advantage of that. I pulled with all my strength, and I felt a tidal wave come rapidly to my assistance. I dared closer to the heated battle below. Charizard was heavily burnt and had a tear in his wing, but was still fighting fiercely. Moltres was bruised, but otherwise fine. Charizard slashed at Moltres, but he dodged to the side and countered with Flamethrower. Charizard reared back in pain. It had gotten him in the eyes. "Charizard!" I called out. "Use Fly!" Charizard glanced up, then flew up, leaving Moltres behind. Moltres let out a battle cry, and his body flared even more brightly than before. Sky Attack. Like that's going to do him any good. My tidal wave had arrived. It washed over the forest without losing power, and rushed to and over Moltres, washing him under the land-borne current. When I knew that Moltres' fire had finally been put out, I released the wave and let it seep back to the ocean. Charizard flew lopsidedly back to the city. I went to the tower. It was devastating. My troops were reduced to less than 5 each. The balcony itself was broken almost in half and was smoking and iced over at the same time. Articuno and Zapdos had very little injuries to show for their fight. "Hey, you two!" I shouted. They stopped attacking and turned to look at me. "I'm the one you want! I'm the one who killed Ho-Oh, and Lugia, and Moltres! Don't you have anything to say about that?" Articuno flapped angrily, then shot an ice beam at me. I moved to the side, but let it touch my shield and freeze around it. Zapdos gave it a shot of Thunderbolt. I danced around the static and absorbed it into my shield. "Take this!" I offered. I whipped the ice off, lowered its temperature, and blasted it at Zapdos, aiming for his heart. Without missing a beat, I charged up the electricity that Zapdos had offered me, and let Articuno have it. Zapdos found himself in a prison of ice formed from his core. Articuno was paralyzed and knocked out. They both began a rapid descent to the earth. I helped them by grabbing them with my mind and flung them to the hill where their brothers rested. They were quick to join them.